everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Vader 400, and of course the Brown Skin Human, coming back at you in another video. And this time, this is my intro, this is my second intro to my series of Disney Channel sitcom, Disney Channel sitcom reviews, the late 2010s edition, the late 2010s sitcoms. There will be another intro video for the retro Disney Channel sitcoms, but this is the late 2010s right here, the late 2010s sitcoms, particularly Sydney to the Max, Cooper and Cammy Ask the World, Gabby Duran and the Incredibles, and Raven's Home. And I'm thinking about including Bunked, the newest season, the seasons 3 and 4 of Bunked, and the newest Disney Channel sitcom, Just Roll With It. Just Roll With It. These right here, these are remakes. These are webcam remakes of my narration reviews, where I go more in depth, talk more in depth about the actors, the actresses, and the sitcoms, the narration reviews, which those will be in the description box below for people who want to see those. Those were just short. Those were just short reviews giving my thoughts on these awesome series. This is me talking about these series after watching multiple episodes and in their seasons in their entirety. So with that being said, let's get started right now. We can do what we want if we put our minds to it. Time for my review of the very first Disney Channel sitcom I saw, new era sitcom I saw, and that of course is Sydney to the Max. Sydney to the Max, starring Ruth Rehe, Ruth Rehe as the main protagonist, Sydney, Jackson Dollier, and Ian Kessler as the kid and adult versions of Max Reynolds, the secondary and other protagonists of the show. Girl Meets World star Ava Coker stars as Olive Rozolski, um, Christian J. Simon, who I think was Darwin, voiced the character Darwin on the Amazing World of Gumball cartoon series on Cartoon Network, plays the role of Leo Webb, and Caroline Ray, the actress I immediately recognize and remember the most and recognize the most, portrays um Judy Reynolds, the mother of Max Reynolds and grandmother of um Sydney Sydney Reynolds. I think her name is Julie Garcia, portrays the character of Emmy Mendoza. Amarillo Ray portrays their other character, Sophia, Sophia, and Brogan Hall portrays the other Leo's friend and Max's friend and enemy, um, um, Bucky, and I keep forgetting the actor, the Indian actor who portrays the other character, Pete, their other friend and seen in the '90s portion of the show with Maxwell Reynolds and Leo and Leo. So yeah, he got an awesome cast of characters, and just like with Cooper and Cammy as the world. This was the first new era sitcom I saw. Like I said, I didn't have cable. Well, I still had cable. I didn't have internet access. But I still had cable. So I finally decided after pretty much 4 to 5 years of not watching Disney Channel. I stopped watching Disney Channel in 2016. I came back briefly in 2017 for Andy Mack and Raven's Home, but those two shows weren't enough to keep me interested for a long time. So I quickly left again and didn't come back until 2020. 2020, I first saw Sitting to the Max during season 2 in June of 2020, and I instantly became a fan of this show. Instantly became a fan of this show, and just like with Cooper and Cammy Asked the World, this was the first one. I was surprised by the level of acting, the quality of acting, storytelling, seriousness, adult issues, and writing in a Disney Channel sitcom. Yeah, this is still a cheesy Disney Channel sitcom, but Disney Channel sitcoms and shows are starting to become much better. Now I don't know what it was, but the late 2010s, and it all started with Andy Mack and Raven's Home. Raven's Home are tackling more serious issues and becoming more serious and more like the good old days, the late '90s and early 2000s, and the sitcoms of the past, like Full House, Saved by the Bell, and Fresh Prince, and those type of sitcoms, The Cosby Show, these awesome retro sitcoms, those shows, Boy Meets World, Family Matters, those awesome retro shows. That's what these new era shows are reminding me of. In contrast to the crappy, cheesy sitcoms from the early 2010s, like Jesse, um, Shake It Up, and what's another show? Ant Farm. These atrocious shows from the early 2010s, which those shows have only been off the air for like 5 to 6 years, and they have already aged poorly. They've already aged terribly. Those shows are everything terrible about the 2010s, about the 2010s. So I was surprised by the quality of acting, storytelling, writing, and everything. And this show had the coolest concept for a sitcom I've ever seen since Disney Channel's Sunny with a Chance. You had Sunny with a Chance, which features actors on a comedy show tackling their real life behind the scenes, on behind the scenes. Well, this cool show right here has Sydney Reynolds and Max Reynolds, um, father and daughter, taking on similar problems in 2 different decades. Sydney in 2020, and Max Reynolds in the '90s in the quote unquote in the quote unquote in the quote unquote 90s, and then Sydney goes through problems, and then the adult Max has to remember back when he was a kid. It flashes back to when he was a kid and how he handled these. You see how he handled these problems in the 90s, and how he handles versus how he handles them in the 2020s. In the 2020s, now that of course he's adult, just like this sitcom. Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, pretty much in the present, it follows Sydney Reynolds. It follows Sydney Reynolds, her friend Olive Rizolsky, her friend Olive Rizolsky, adult Max, Judy, and sometimes her other two friends, Emmy, Emmy and Sophia in 2020. Then it flashes back to the past with young Jackson Dollinger, young Max, and his best friend Leo, who in the present day lives in San Francisco. The setting of the show in both the 90s and 2000 in the 2000 in the late two, in 2000 2019 and 20, of course, is Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon. Leo Webb, young Judy Reynolds. So they do a good job of making Caroline Ray look much younger in the 90s portion of the in the 90s portion of the show, and who else? And other characters like Pete, Brogan Hall, and who for the first time, Sydney's mother, who is deceased in the present day, but she appears for the first time. She appears via flashbacks and appears for the first time in the season finale, 13 Candles. 13 13 Candles, where we learn that was was Sydney's mom was Leo's cousin. So yeah, really awesome sitcom. The sitcom is a cross between Full and Fuller House, Disney Channel's Good Luck Charlie, because the show takes place out in like the countryside. It looks like it's in like out in the countryside, just like Good Luck Charlie. Um, the Disney Channel sitcoms of the 2000s, like Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. In those shows, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Ravens, the Raven, the That's So Raven franchise. Raven Simone even served as a director and a writer on one of the episodes. Um, Girl and Boy Meets World, which Ava Coker starred on. It has the same way humor as that Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which Caroline Ray starred on in the 90s and 2000s. And what else about this show? And yeah, like Fuller House. I mentioned it, like Full and Fuller House. It features a single parent raising a kid. Except this single parent brought in his mother to help raise his mother to help raise Sydney's. Yeah. So yeah, whenever I think of single parent, a single widowed parent raising kids, Full and Fuller House is the shows that come to mind. So as you can see, yeah, and with Fuller House ending, these sitcoms, Sydney to the Max, Cooper and Cammy Ask the World, Gabby Durante and Citadel's and Raven's Home became my new sitcoms, became my new situation comedies. Most people would just write these off as cheesy new sitcoms, but they're awesome, which is the only problem I have with these sitcoms. Disney Channel, they don't feature these new sitcoms I just mentioned. Well, Raven's Home gets featured a lot, but the other three I just mentioned, City to the Max, Cooper and Cammy Ask the World, which that show is in danger of cancellation, and Gabby Durante and Citables. They don't. These shows are extremely popular shows, and they're newly premiering shows, and they're not featured on the network. Instead, we gotta make way for crappy reruns of Jesse, the worst show of all time, and Bunk, which should have ended a long time ago. I like Bunk, like I've said in plenty of videos and reviews now. I love Bunk now. The newer seasons and newer actors and actresses, they're much better. But that's a show that should have ended years ago. We're gonna review and rant and talk about Bunk later. But yeah, this is Sydney to the Max. Sydney to the quote unquote Max. What a phenomenal show. Um, what a phenomenal show this was. Season one of the show was okay, a good start, but it was season two that hooked me, and I'm glad I started during season two. Season two was so much better. The actors and actresses are so much better. Watching shows about watching sitcoms about watching sitcoms about children and kids especially are usually terrible because the kids are usually terrible actors. I could barely socialize at that age, let alone act, let alone act, let alone act. Shows about teenagers and adults are much better. Are much better. Then you have so yeah, one of the greatest sitcoms around. And then when you're having a bad day, these sitcoms are the perfect thing to watch. Are the perfect to family friendly shows to watch. And like I said, these sitcoms are set in nowadays. They were so retro. They were so retro. They were so retro. Even though they're obviously set nowadays because of the technology and phones we see in these sitcoms. But yeah, Sydney to the Sydney to the Max, one of the greatest sitcoms, ever, and it returns later on this month, March 29th, I think, of this month. It released later on this month. The sitcom returns for season three. Yeah. So yeah. Get ready for season one and three. Reviews of season one and two are coming next. Get ready. Hey everybody, it's time for the next part of my remade review and overview of City to the Max seasons 1 and 2. Since I did another one for Cooper and Cammy Astawall, I want to do another City to the Max review because I really love this sitcom, man. So I decided to do another, even though the original version is uploaded on all platforms, but here is the other, here's a newer version right here. This time I'm gonna have the Parent Trap episode playing in the background. Last time I used Adventures in Babysitting. So yeah, this is season one. Season one of City to the Max was a good start, but I got multiple problems with this season. The first problem I have is the season finale. The season finale had to probably be one of the worst season finales of all time. Despite that, I like the episode because I can relate to it, and it does segue into the past plot, which was the worst plot. Does segue into the current present day plot. So yeah, Sydney Sydney that's quote unquote Sydney that's quote unquote Sydney to the Max season one. That was the first problem. Second problem was the the actors and actresses, the young actors and actresses, they're kids. So which meant while these kids are pretty talented, there's a lots of overacting. There's lots of over the top overacting in this series, in this particular season. This is toned down less so in the season two, which was way better because the actors get older and go through puberty, and in season three it's near perfect. But yeah, this is season one of Sitting to the Max. So let's start the episode in the background right now.
Dad, we just got front row tickets for our favorite band.
My favorite episodes of this season are episodes 3, The Parent Trap, which is playing in the background right now. The next episode, Adventures in Babysitting, an episode an episode I just recently watched for the first time. This is actually the only season one episode I don't recall ever actually watching until actually a couple of days ago, and that was There's Something About Zach Thompson. Then of course you got episode 18, episode 18, Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Come on, Dad. No one else is
Nightmare on Elm
there.
Street.
Tons of parents at the last Girls with Two
Oh,
Children.
then of course I mentioned the horrible season finale, how Sid got her phone back, which, like I said, despite how terrible this season finale was,
Don't worry, Dad.
I actually enjoyed this episode. First episode, The Parent Trap, which is playing in the background right now. This episode centers around Sydney and Olive wanting to go to a 16 Oranges rock band concert alone. Max forbids them, so Sid at first tries to guilt him into it, but Max doesn't buy it, and Sid then decides to go to Olive's house. Go to Olive's house. Sid at first is surprisingly for once doing the right thing. It's not until Max tracks her phone. It's not until Max decides to track her phone where she decides to go to the concert. Meanwhile in the B plot, young Max and Leo receive beepers, but his mom Judy demands Max call at all times. Even comically saying in the bathroom where Max comically says, "Where am I supposed to find a payphone in there?" So
Find a payphone, get quarters, call you back.
they sneak to the same theater that the 16 Oranges concert is at in the present day to see the Jurassic Park. They sneak into an adult movie by bribing a guy named Gerald, who's portrayed by the guy from the little. I keep forgetting his name, but he's the little kid with the glasses from Shake It Up, from the earlier seasons of Shake It Up, and later he was also in a sitcom with Jerry Trainer from iCarly and Drake and Josh. They bribe him by going to an R-rated movie that appears to be a parody of Jurassic Park.
I still can't believe you got
Jurassic Park.
For real beeper.
They fooled their before they did that. But before they did that, they fooled their mom. Max fooled his mom by saying, he's gonna be at work. You know how important my job is to me, which is when the mom is onto them, and when they leave the theater, she follows them as they're leaving the movie theater where they try to pay phone again, and then Max asks Leo to give him money. Judy gives him money. He says and then Judy comically says, she says, I knew you couldn't be trusted. Don't worry, you don't have to wear your beeper anymore because I know where you are. Doing 24 to life in your bedroom. And then Max said, all right, fine, but how did you find me? Judy said, you almost got away with it until Max revealed, you know how important my job is to me. Then Leo said, you're not gonna tell my dad, are you? You're not gonna tell my parents, are you? And then Judy says, I don't know, I'm kind of a loose cannon. And that's how that plot is resolved. Meanwhile, back in Max's plot, Sydney feels guilty for sneaking to the concert, and so she sneaks out. But it turns out Max has tracked him there because earlier the pizza guy Iggy, who makes his debut in this episode, the goofy pizza man guy, who I thought this was Jason Earls returning to Disney Channel, but no, it's another actor. But I thought this was Jason Earls. Jason Earls did return to Disney Channel, but he returned in another sitcom that was Just Roll With It. This right here is Sitting to the Max. Max meets him. And Max meets him where Iggy reveals that they switch phones by accident, and Max says before he leaves, he says, by the way, man, nice pizza. And Iggy says, I know, and that's all that plot. Then Max meets the same guy. In order to buy his way into the theater, Max meets the same guy, the Gerald guy, an older version of him several years later, working the same job where he says, weren't you supposed to go to Vegas and start a monkey magic show? The Gerald guy says, yeah, the monkeys, it turns out they have no honor. They have quote unquote no honor. And that's how
Who's got the cooler beeper now?
Then
well, still you.
Sydney
I'm right on your
and
head.
Olive managed to sneak out by moving the smoke machine closer to where Max was, which causes a smoke filled area, and they managed to basically safely sneak back to the house. But when Max apologizes for tracking her phone, Sydney reveals that she snuck to the concert. After reconciling, in my favorite moment of the episode, Max says, "Alright, now we've got to talk about your punishment." And Sydney says, "But this was going so well." And Sydney says, "Okay, I deserve to be grounded." And Max says, "Oh no, I think of something much worse. Much worse." And he walks off laughing, and Sydney says, "What is it? What is it? Is this working? It's working, please. Tell me, please tell me." And Max walks upstairs, just laughing. And it turns out her punishment is taking both him is all three of them going to a 16 Origins concert this time with a bunch of adults, with Max and them embarrassingly doing the wave, to which Max then makes it worse by taking a picture so everyone knows they're there. Then Olive says cheese, and then Sydney looks at Olive like she's stupid. Olive says, "What? Post or post?" There was lots of funny moments and lots of exciting moments in this adventurous based episode, including when Sydney was at Olive's place. When Sydney comes up with a plan to sneak to the theater, Sydney says, they say at the same time, Sydney says, "We're going to the 16 Origins concert," and Olive says, "We're going to get extra pizza," and then Olive says, "Whoa, I wasn't even close. Then you got episode 4, Adventures in Babysitting. One of my all-time favorite episodes. This episode, Misadventures in Babysitting. This episode, along with the Full House episode, season 3 Full House episode of the same name, made me wanna quote unquote watch the actual Adventures in Babysitting movie. Adventures in Babysitting quote unquote movie.
How to trash a child's home.
No, I want to track my daughter's phone.
How to make
The actual Adventures in Babysitting, quote unquote, the actual Adventures in Babysitting movie. Anyway, in this movie right here, this episode is loosely based upon that plot, but this episode is not as dark. It's not as dark. Meanwhile, Sydney and Olive, they're fed up with their petty allowance, so they decide to start up a babysitting service, and they get a job at Mrs. Taylor's place, the mother of their crush, of their 8th grade crush, Zach Thompson. They have to babysit Zach Thompson's younger brother Dylan, who him and Zach Thompson do not get along, do not get along. So Sydney and Olive, they have to choose between staying true to their word, and Mrs. Taylor's orders, and that is babysitting Dylan and not having any friends over, or betray that and hang out with Zach Thompson and his cool 8th grade friends. At first, they do the right thing, then they get distracted by Zach Thompson and his cool friends, Hudson, Tamira, and I keep forgetting the last one's name, but in this episode, what happens in this episode? Then Sydney and Olive at first both try to hang out with Zach Thompson and his cool friends, but it's right here. But when their little brother Dylan is onto them, Dylan gives them an ultimatum. Either they play with him, or he calls his mom, and Sydney and Olive eventually do the right thing and have Zach Thompson kick out his popular friends after Max crashes the party, pretending to be from neighborhood watch committee. So then Olive and Sydney, they make it up to Dylan by doing whatever he wants for the next 15 minutes, and they successfully pass. They successfully pass their babysitting service. But because of this, Zach Thompson is still their friend, but the other 8th grade friends pretend to hate them and pretend not to know them the next day in retaliation for kicking them out. Then in the B plot, in the 90s plot, Max and Leo are tasked with staying home without a babysitter, and Max wants to prove that he can stay home without a babysitter. So they accidentally watch a movie, violent horror movie called Doll of Death, and get scared throughout the movie. Leo gets scared that he leaves home early, losing the bet. They had a bet that whoever can watch the movie without being scared, hiding in the pillows, hiding behind their hands, putting their hands over their eyes, wins. Max wins the bet. Max wins the bet because Leo calls his parents and comes home. But Max when his mom comes home, he gets scared. Then he gets scared again when his mom rings the doorbell and runs back upstairs, singing Doll of Death. And that's how that plot is. B plot was good, but the A plot was so much better. Then you got There's Something About Zach Thompson, which this was an interesting episode. Both Sydney and Olive.
I can't afford to get fired. I've got dreams. When I graduate,
Both Sydney and Olive get Zach Thompson a job at Max's smoothie place, but it turns out Zach can't keep Zach at Max smoothie. Zach can't keep the job because he's struggling in math. So Sydney and Olive come up with the plan to tutor him in math, but they also have to do a project where Amy and Sophia accidentally end up ditching Amy and Sophia, but they reconcile at the end and do the right thing, and everything ends well. This is, of course, the last appearance of Zach Thompson and I think Mrs. Taylor. The events of Adventures in Babysitting are mentioned during this episode, which is one of the other reasons I watched this episode. I hope Zach Thompson appears sometime in the future. I guess he won't appear in season 3 because in season 3, Sydney and Olive are in 8th grade, and that would make Zach Thompson in high school now, unless they're going to show him working at the smoothie shop. Then and now they have Sydney dating Harry, but can't Zach date Olive, someone else? So that's that plot. That's that plot. Then the Nightmare on Elm Street. One of the best and most iconic episodes. This was the episode. This was the first time via dream sequence where a 2020 character, Sydney and Olive, met 1992 characters, Max, Leo, and young Judy Reynolds. So the episode starts off with Sydney getting embarrassed in class, where during a class presentation, a video of her kissing her stuffed giraffe, Ricky Angelo plays, and everyone laughs. Sydney flees in embarrassment and promises to never go back to school again. Max is determined. Max tells her she has to face it head on. She goes to sleep watching old videos of young Max and Leo. Then she wakes up in the 90s, in a dream in the 90s, and wishes Olive was there. They don't have any of their technology. They decide to go to the arcade to see what's going on. They go to the school where Sydney meets young Leo. Then she sees Max dressed like a stunt performer, Evel Knievel, something like that, as Captain Danger about to do a skateboarding stunt. He does a skateboarding stunt and falls, and because of Sydney's distraction, botches his stunt, and he trips and falls in a wet bathroom cleaning bucket, and everyone mocks him, and Max flees the scene.
and decides to never go back to school again and move to California, which he refuses, which he actually believes is just 5 blocks down from where they stay, from where he stays. So at first Sydney enlists the help of Leo. Leo at first tries to talk him out of it, but then when he sees that Max can't be reasoned with, Leo decides to go with Max. Leo decides to go with Max to California to teach him how maps work. So then Sydney and Olive then reveal to Leo and Max that they're from the future, to which Leo and Max don't believe it. They don't believe it until Max believes it, but Leo doesn't until Sydney proves she's from the future by telling him about various future events that's going to happen, and even lying, such as Max being a millionaire, and lying saying that he won't live in his mom's place, when in the future he does live in his mom's place, and he's not a millionaire. And Max agrees to stay, go back to school, and even try to stunt over again. He tries to stunt over again, and this time lands in a garbage can. He fails again, but this time he dusts himself and keep going. And the two part ways with Sydney saying, "See you in the future." And the episode ends with Sydney waking up in the present day and going back to school, and Olive stands up for her, and that's how
Turns out monkeys.
That's how that episode ends. Then you have the how Sydney and them got their phones back. This episode right here. How Sydney got their phones back. It was the worst ever. Sydney, Olive, and Sophia have their phones on in class during Mr. Tanaka's presentation of the Great Chicago Fire, and Mr. Takanaka confiscates their phones, and Vice Principal Romani, who randomly appeared in the class, was already there. He jokingly said, "It's my job to be everywhere." Introduces the new phone policy set up by Sophia's mom, Angela.
I knew you couldn't be trusted. I was right to get you that visa.
Sydney has Max Reynolds come in to speak on their behalf, who is also in the PTA meeting. Max at first agrees with Sydney, but then when Angela brings up good points about how phones cause great distractions in class, Max is forced to agree and support the phone bill. So Sydney blackmail Max by throwing away his favorite chips, to which Max goes along with it because he is looking out for his health, and gives Sydney a garlicly spinach drink, protein drink, and Sydney then tries to give him fish food, and Max eventually caves and says he still supports the phone bid, but he will give the kids a chance to speak at that PTA meeting where Sydney and Olive speak. Sydney and Olive come up with a plan to text all the adults and confiscate their phones during a presentation to show how that the adults are just as distracted by their phones as the kids are. I like this episode, but I thought it was the worst ever. First off, this was the season finale. If it happened, I wouldn't mind so much if it happened earlier in the season, but this was the season finale. Number two, I hate how the kids blackmailed their way into getting their phones back. In my opinion, neither side was right. I've always thought it was BS bupkis that a teacher could confiscate your belongings if they're out in class, confiscate your belongings that have no business at school in class. I struggled with this a lot. I eventually solved this problem by not bringing yourself to class, or at least not having it out at all. One time, I can relate to this episode because I had a couple of my action figures in second grade. I had a couple of my action figures taken by a teacher when they weren't even out. A guy snitched on me and said they were out, and the teacher had me open the bag, and she took them. I actually got away with it. I partially got away with it. I snuck back in and stole them later. stole them, quote unquote, later.
That was the concert.
But
I know.
but I didn't get the other ones back. So I didn't get the other ones back that she confiscated earlier in the year. But I always thought it was BS that the teacher could take your stuff. But blackmailing them into giving your stuff back, that blackmailing them by taking their phones was my opinion, wasn't the answer. Followed by then the B plot was even worse with like I said, this is the plot I can relate to with Vice Principal Monty's confiscating Max's skateboard when he accused him of riding it on campus when he wasn't. He was just riding it to school, so nobody would riding to school and holding it, so nobody would steal it. Nobody would steal it. So Vice Principal Monty confiscates the skateboard. Then Max tries to go to his mom for help, and then the unsupportive parents. At first, his mom doesn't believe him and doesn't help him, forcing Max to come up with a plan to steal in Vice Principal Monty's office, to which Judy eventually reconsiders and goes to pick up the skateboard, but at the end reveals that she saw Max and Leo in the office and grounded Max for 2 months of no skateboarding. Yeah, it was wrong for Max to sneak into the principal's office, but you only did that because you didn't take up for him. This is a problem I have with my parents and legal guardians. Well, I don't really get along or hang out with them now. I hate stuff like that, but that's why this is the worst episode ever. But it does tie into the main plot, and I guess I like it because I can relate to it. Also, other characters like Mr. Tanaka, Angela, and Sophia are featured in this episode, are quote unquote featured in this episode. So yeah, that was Season to the Max Season 1. Other good episodes include As Bad as She Gets, where adult Leo returns. I thought this was a weak episode, but it was cool to see adult Leo again. Then you have the dancing episodes, where one of them has a very funny poop joke from Judy, where she claims Max sat in some cow poop and it was a long stinky ride home. Then you have the other worst episode, I Know What You Did Last Sleepover, where Olive and Sydney fight for the first time, and Max and Leo fight for the first time, and the B plot was even worse. Them fighting was just annoying. I understand the moral of the episode, but these guys fighting and these people fighting was just annoying, and Max's part was worse, where Leo fired Max for repeatedly coming to the store later, replaced him with Bucky. This is Bucky's debut episode. And then of course you have the Caved and Confused episode where the girl cave, I think that's what it's called, which reappears in Season 2, What's My Grade Again. It makes his debut here, and Iggy returns in this episode, where Max and Iggy talk about their meeting in the Parent Trap episode. I think this is also the debut of Sophia and Emmy too. I think this is their debut too. So yeah, there was lots of great episodes in season one. Next time in the future, I'm gonna do both an episode review to talk about each one in great detail, because I try to do it here, but the videos end up taking too long. A video commentary review of talking about each episode, and seasons and a video commentary seasons review. So with that being said, let's get to Season 2 right now. The much superior season. Hey everybody, it's time for the second and final part of my Sydney to the Max review, season review, and overview. This time we're looking at Season 2. Last time I think I used What's My Grade Again. This time I'm using another favorite episode of mine, Mrs. Harris a Poops, something like that. The field trip to the art museum episode, as the episode that will play in the background while I review this season. Season two of Sydney to the Max, like I said in the original video, was a vast improvement over Season 1. The actors and actresses are more the kid actors and actresses are much older and as such more mature. There's not as much overacting as you heard in the first season, and the episode plots, in my opinion, while the episode plots the of the first season were better, in my opinion, the entire overarching storyline of this season is way better, way better. Like I've said, best episodes this season include the best episodes include the final episode of season 2, the season finale, 13 Candles, where Max's late wife, the kid version of Alicia, is introduced. Is introduced. Introduced. The big Rozolski, when we get to see Olive's brothers, which this is considered the highest. This is the highest rated episode of Sydney to the Max. Then you got the first 3 episodes I saw, and that was What's My Grade Again, My Best Friend's Ending, and Slurping with the Enemy, followed by The Lunch Club, then Mrs. Harris, A Poos, Baby One More Rhyme, and of course what was that other episode called? Oh yeah, When Sydney Meets Harry, and last but not least, Night Not at the Museum. These are my favorite and best episodes of this season's. The weakest episodes was Sing It On, which the A plot was okay, but I often confused it with the quote unquote much superior Baby Rhyme episode. These are both musical based episodes, but the B plot was just bogus with Max, with Leo and Judy trying to convince Max to go to summer camp, and Max just didn't want to. Then you have Bummer Reynolds. This was one of the weaker episodes, but I actually enjoy this episode, not only because Upside Down Magic Star, keep forgetting his name, but he's the guy who could go up but couldn't come down. That guy, he guest stars in this episode and has a reoccurring role on Raven's Home as Tessa's boyfriend. Well, anyway, this guy, this episode right here shows that Sydney to the Max and Cooper and Cammy Ask the World, which both of these episodes center around a lake house, that these 2 sitcoms could be in the same universe, a whole nother reason I don't want them to cancel at Cooper and Cammy Ask the World. But quote unquote, that was the only thing that was interesting about this episode. Then you have followed by you have when Boy Meets Dad, which is a pun on the sitcom Boy Meets World, where we see Max's father for the first time. It was a good episode, but it was just dull, and the ratings are great because this was considered the lowest rated episode. Then you have the Christmas episode where we get to see young Alicia. It was okay, but yeah, not really that good of a start. Then you have this was the second episode, but it was aired as the first one, and that was the fencing episode. Problem I have with this episode, it was a good episode, but the fencing team here is not the fencing team in the Lunch Club. I don't mind. At the same time, I don't mind it so much because the ones in the Lunch Club are way better than the fencing team here. But we don't see any of these members or the fencing coach, who is Bob Duncan from Good Luck Charlie. He returns in this series. We don't ever see any of these characters again. That was the problem I had here. Then you have the 7th grade dance episode, which this was another good episode. Yeah, but the final 2 episodes we're gonna talk about are the iconic Girls to Women. This was the big period based episode. Then last but not least, Night Not at the Museum, the episode where Sydney gets grounded from the very weekend the pop-up cake museum happens. So
those quote unquote were my favorite and best episodes, and quote unquote my least favorite episodes. Since this video is already long, I'm only going to talk about a couple of episodes in great detail. So with that being said, let's get started.
Art in 5 words.
We're going to start off with
Stars.
we're going to start off with Mrs. Harris Apus. Mrs. Harris Apus. Love this episode and the real life Jackson Dollinger who portrays young Maxwell Reynolds. Maxwell Reynolds loves this episode too, because this episode we see a different side of the character Max. In most of the episodes is on a field trip or anywhere, it's usually Max and Leo or someone else causing the disturbances and causing problems. For once it isn't Max. Max is actually being the mature one, being the mature, responsible one. This time it's Judy who ruins the field trip when Mrs. Harris Apus shows a painting that looks like a butt, and Judy says like a butt to me, and everyone laughs. Everyone continuously laughs, and then the museum curator forces them to leave because of how loud they are. To which Mrs. Harris comically tells her kids, "I am very disappointed in you guys. You people were more interested in butts." The way she said it was hilarious, and the whole class laughed. Both the class laughed and the real life audience and laugh track laughed too. And Max tried to apologize on behalf of his mother and everyone, and he and Mrs. Harris went back to the art museum that Saturday, where it turns out Pete was the other character who was inspired by the art, and he has a bigger role in the future. I'm gonna get to later in this review. Then you have then Judy comes in to apologize before going off storming off laughing again, and that is pretty much the B plot. Now for the A plot. Sydney and Olive are with Mrs. Harris, the same teacher, also taking a field trip to the art museum. Sydney convinces Mrs. Harris to let them go along, and Olive, when she sees a bee, she accidentally gets caught in a rope of the art museum and runs and accidentally destroys the exhibit, and both of them foolishly scream, which brings the curator in there, and the entire school gets banned from ever visiting the museum again. And Vice Principal Romani says if Sydney and Olive, if it turns out that Mrs. Harris has anything to do with this, Mrs. Harris will be fired on the spot. So Sydney and Olive, in order to save Mrs. Harris' job, they convince Mrs. Harris to lie. At first, Mrs. Harris refuses, but then goes along with it, not wanting to get fired. But then later rechants what she says and she calls in Principal Romani, and via poem reveals that she gave Olive and Sydney permission. It is here where Vice Principal Romani says no decisions have been made. You have any going away presents and gifts for Mrs. Harris? You better give them now. Sydney and Olive, in order to save Mrs. Harris' job, they get the grown-up Pete, who turns out is now the owner of the art museum, and it's the mysterious Ramsey character you hear about the episode. He reveals his identity to save Mrs. Harris' job and reveals that Mrs. Harris has such a huge influence on him, and then Vice Principal Romani reveals, he says, when you say that I play a part in who you are, then Pete says, not really. And Vice Principal Romani gives Sydney and Olive several weeks detention, and Mrs. Harris
is watching them. She has the attention to, and the episode they all reconcile at Max's smoothie shop. Where, like I said, one of the other coolest things about this episode is we finally get to see another 90s character in the present day. We've seen who Leo is in the present day. We've seen who Leo is in the present day, and we've seen Max and several other characters. Now, I want to see who Bucky is in the present day. I want to see what became of him in the present in the quote unquote present day. The character of Bucky, the character of Bucky. So yeah, Bucky.
I'm sorry, but if you can't control your students, I'm going to have to ask
see,
you
that
to
was
leave.
then you had before this episode you had Baby One More Rhyme. This episode was awesome. The A plot was born with Sydney and Olive trying to sneak into Ricky Angelo's room to get her song played the right way, because the radio people pick her song, but they change it to be something more mainstream. The plot was dull. The only thing cool was a funny song from Max and seeing Iggy. Iggy reappears in this episode. Max, in the beginning, he says, "I love that Ricky Angelo Concrete Rain song, Concrete Rain." And then Caroline Ray says, "Please don't sing." And then
No, school groups aren't allowed into any of the special.
then you have Sydney and Olive, and then you have in the B plot, which was much more exciting. Max and Leo, they have to find an after school club, so they decide to start a hip hop club to avoid having to sew. They come up with a hip hop club. The only person to join is Bucky, who he crosses his name out after Max busts out a hilariously bad rap, which was hilarious. Can't remember the words, but I would have done it right now if I could remember the words. Then you have so then Max and Leo come up with a plan to play a radio in the hallway and stage a rap battle and freestyle on each other, which finally causes the people to join the hip hop club. But then they have to stop. They have to continue. They have to continue coming up with ways. They have to continue coming up with ways to diss each other. And they don't want to diss each other, so they discontinue the rap club and take up sewing instead. Then you got the lunch club episode where Sydney is bonding with her new lunch club members, Cholene, who is portrayed by Allison Fernandez from one of the main characters of Upside Down Magic, and now a reoccurring character named Olivia. I think Olivia on Raven's Home in season 4. She quote unquote she guest stars in this episode as Choli, leader of the fencing team, and she has his assistant second in command, Dylan, who they call Doc, because she fell off a dock, who likes giving people nicknames. I hope these two characters are seen again in the future. Anyway, in this episode right here, Sydney is bonding with these people, but also keeps neglecting her other friends, Sydney, Olive, Sophia, and Emmy, who she keeps making plans with. So one day she hilariously tries to eat at both tables to disastrous results, where Sophia is telling a story about something her brother did, something dumb her brother did, and then when Sophia says her brother tripped and supposedly injured himself, Sydney comically says, cute, and then Sydney says, "You know what this story needs?" And Sophia says, "You listening to it?" Sydney says, cookies. Then Sydney says, "Okay, just wait. I gotta go to the bathroom." And then Emmy says, bathroom for cookies, I'll
So, Dad,
pass.
let's talk
I'll
punishment.
pass,
Enough
and
of your
then
radio. We'll say you're
it's
willing to make one.
here where
I'm not the one you need to worry about. Whatever
Sydney
punishment
realizes
Mr. Vermont
that
gets,
she
it's gonna
can't
be way
hang
worse
out
than
with
anything
both,
I did.
so
Yeah,
she
I was
decides to
afraid of
quit the
I'm sorry,
fencing
Sid.
team.
You said
She
you
decides
wanted
to
to
quit
see
the
you,
fencing
Olive, and
team.
Mrs. Harris
They hang
first
out with
thing
her
tomorrow
real
morning.
friends. It's here where Jolie
He
saves
wore
her
what
position on the
adult
fencing
would
team
do,
by
but locked
convincing
him
her
up
to
in
stay
the
by saying that when she joined the fencing team, she lost her old friends but gained new ones, and realized that her
Romani
old
said if she had
friends
anything to do with
weren't
this,
real
she's gonna get
friends.
fired.
But Sophia
Then he said
Sophia and the rest
which is a
remember
weird way to end such a
tell Sydney
serious
they are
conversation.
real friends and they will be here forever. And this plot
Harris, we didn't even
ends
think about her.
on a happy
I
note.
know.
The B plot wasn't interesting
What
at
are we
all,
gonna
so I'm really
do?
not gonna really talk about it. But I understood the moral of the plot. Then you had
to take all the blame. You're right.
slurping with the enemy.
So
Slurping with
is
the
it really
enemy.
a
A
dungeon or,
plot
like, detention
A
without
plot was
Wi-Fi? 'Cause that's,
okay,
like, way
but the B plot was much more exciting with Leo's dad.
Mrs. Harris.
With Leo's dad sending him
Is there meeting
halfway,
an end? That's why
Leo's
they're here.
dad sending
So
sending
Mr.
Max
Romani
and
asked you,
Leo's
don't
dad
tell
sending
him you
Max
gave us
and
permission
Leo
to go into
on
that
an
room.
assignment
I did give you permission. I'm your
to
teacher. I should
investigate
know better. I deserve
investigate
whatever
a
punishment I get.
But Mr. Vermani said if you had anything to do
investigate
with
and
it,
infiltrate
he's gonna fire you.
Fire me?
a new laser tag video game place to see if it's a good investment. Leo and Max have a good time and notice how fun it is and believe it could be a threat to his father's business. And so they lie and say, oh, this was not good at all. This
I
sucks.
can't lie to Mr.
This was not
Vermani.
good
I
at
can't
all.
let you
This
girls lie for me. Hello, lady.
this was not good at all. So they lie, but they go there after school every day. To which Judy tells Leo's dad. Leo's dad tells Judy, but Leo would never lie to me.
Mr. Vermani.
Judy
it
says,
wasn't-
yes, Leo would, but Max and Leo, and that's when they decide to go to the arcade place to bust him, and they bust him, and the whole thing, and it's revealed that the dad sent there to see if the place was a good investment, so the good investment to buy, and that Leo never has to protect him like that again, never has to protect him like that again, and the episode comically and happily ends with a friendly game of laser tag. Then you have
Mrs. Harris, is this all true?
Then you have What's My Grade Again and What's My Grade Again, which tackles this episode tackles ADHD disorders. I'm not going to mention the plot because I mentioned in the last one. Then you also have My Best Friends ending, which I mentioned this plot in the last one. Then you have When Sydney Meets Harry, another great episode.
I am
However,
so disappointed.
however,
I was hoping that
however the end, however
experience for the class.
However, the B plot, which was much more exciting, had nothing to do with the A plot. And why didn't the Ram Man appear in the B plot? Then you have the episode before it, the Big Rozalski, where we finally get to see two of Olive's brothers. That's Josh and Rusty. We still haven't met Sean and Owen yet, but we get to see Josh and Rusty. In this video game themed episode, seeing Olive sneak into the bro zone while the brothers are at detention for turning the principal's car into an aquarium while he was in it. I love it when the Olive character does that. So they're in detention because of that. They get distracted by a video game that appears to be a parody of Street Fighter, World of Warcraft, King of Fighters, Tekken, and Virtua Fighter called Alley Fighters, and they get distracted by the game, which the brothers arrive early, to which Olive says, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in detention." The brothers reveal the teacher got sick of them, so he sent them home early. And they say, and the older one, Josh says, "Well, Olive, you know the penalty for sneaking to the bro zone. We put your mattress on the line." And Olive says something like, "Okay, just don't do it while I'm outside. Just don't do it while I'm outside. Because I woke up with a nest. Don't do it while I'm sleeping. Because I woke up with a nest. I woke up with a bird making a nest in my hair." She did it again. And then the Josh guy says, "I hear walking. I hear talking, but I don't see walking. Sydney convinces Olive to stand up to her brothers, and Olive stand up, says she's not going to take it anymore. and
Well,
Sydney
why don't I start
challenges
off by reading
Sydney
my
challenges the
own
brothers to
about what I learned
video
on a
to an
field trip.
to a game
I
of
call
alley
this
fighters. If
a
Sydney and
road
Olive win, Olive gets the bro
unraveled.
zone. But if the brothers win, Sydney and
Two
Olive have to
girls
clean the bro
walk
zone
into
for
a
a year.
room of
For a
rope.
year. So Sydney and Olive
When they
first
asked
try to
me
seek
to
out seek it
I should have said
seek out their
no.
dad, seek out their dad, seek
Now,
out their
I
dad's
must
help, but the
admit
dad's console,
to
his
all
old Sega
who will
Genesis
listen,
console, keeps breaking, keep
it was my fault.
first when he turns it on, he
gave
turns it
them
on,
permission.
it stops again. Then later
So
when he
let
turns it on, it has a
Sydney and
different
Olive
language.
go
And the
free.
third time he tries to turn it on,
If
it catches
anyone's
on
to
fire.
blame,
So they
it
go up
should
to his
be
mom's room. They go up to Max's mom's room,
I see.
Grandma Judy, who has a secret
Mrs. Harris,
video
please meet me in my office after
video game and television set in her
Now,
room,
no
unknown to
decisions
Max.
have been
Unknown to
made,
Max,
but
and she
anything you
teaches
have
them
to
not only how to
verify
play the
against
game,
Mrs.
but also the art of
Please bring them.
trash talking to psych out your opponent. To psych out your opponent. It's here where Olive and Sydney. It's here where Olive, quote unquote, Olive and Sydney.
Is everything okay?
No. Mrs. Harris told Mr. Vermonti that she gave us permission to go into that
It's
exhibit and got
Olive.
fired.
It's
Well, why would
Olive.
she say that?
Because we didn't sneak off.
Olive
The truth is
and
that we begged her and she let us do it.
Why
Olive
didn't you tell me?
and Olive and
Might get the teacher to be fired.
I get it.
You do?
Yeah, she was the best teacher I ever
Olive
had.
and
She
Sydney.
always
So
believed in me. Even when I got
oh
my
yeah,
head
so
pumped
yeah,
and
when Sydney forgets her jacket, she visits the
get yourself
bro zone again, and it's
Guess
here
what?
throughout the
She was
episode.
fine.
You're rooting for Sydney and Olive because the brothers
See, I mean, well,
are
then it's
assholes
done.
for no apparent reason, but then you start
Also,
to
really, Dad?
understand the brothers, because Olive is the only girl. She gets her own bathroom, whereas the brothers got to share. Where the brothers got to share a bathroom, to which
Wait,
Rusty
I think I know how to
says,
save
"Dude,
Mrs.
that's like, dude, that's
Dad, I'm
4
gonna need
people.
your
That's like 8
Anything, Mrs.
armpits.
Harris.
That's like 8 armpits." And then since Olive's also a girl, she gets new clothes, whereas Josh and Rusty, they got to wear hand-me-downs from their brothers, to which Josh was, yeah, these are always pants, but then the Rusty guy said they look good on you, man. I know, and then the Josh says, I know, but that's not the point. And then Sydney tries to say, well, you got this television. He says, we, it's not new. We got it at a garage sale by putting our allowances together. Yeah, and then the Rusty guy says, yeah, I get a shock every time I turn it on. And then he says, wait a minute, why do I gotta turn it on? Why do I gotta turn it on? And this is where you get the feel for the brothers. So Sydney recognizes that if Olive beats the brothers, she'll take the only thing they have to themselves, and her relationship with them will get even worse. So Sydney tries to talk some sense into Olive, but Olive doesn't want to hear it. Olive doesn't want to hear it. And then the day of the match begins, and Sydney tries to distract tries to bring the families closer together. Olive and her brothers closer together, but all it does is, believe it or not, goes in Olive's favor, distracts the brothers, allowing Olive to win, to which Olive thanks Sydney for distracting, but Sydney criticizes Olive, says, I wasn't trying to, I really meant everything I said. He says, your relationship with your brothers won't get any better, because they'll be out there and you'll be in here alone. And Sydney says, that what you really want? Then Olive calls them back in, and Olive says they can keep the bro zone, but as long as from now on the brothers include Olive in multiple activities like it used to be. And the episode ends with all 4. This part ends with all 4 of them playing a game of Valley Fighters, and the episode hilariously ends with Max discovering that his mom Judy has a video game set of her own. And they all play, and that ends this episode. And the B plot, which was also awesome, Max is coming home late because he's king of the arcade, beating people at various arcade games. A new racing game.
Judy, you don't need to.
Judy challenges Max and upsets him, defeats him and defeats him, which causes Max to go in a funk. He goes in a funk that he loses to everyone, including Bucky, who Bucky didn't even know what car he was driving. To which Max comically replies, this is a running gag throughout the series. He says, Leah, I lost my touch. My mom, Bucky, and Leo and Judy come up with a plan for Judy to throw the game so Max can get his mojo back.
Sydney. You made me a better teacher.
Judy comes to the arcade.
Olive,
Judy comes to the arcade and says,
kept me
"I'm
on
here
my
to
toes.
I'm here to play." And then Bucky says,
Tanner.
"Let's do it." And Judy comically says, "Not you, Bucky," and challenges
were a
Max.
student
And
in
challenges
my class.
Max
Hello,
and his mom
student.
fight. And Max actually upsets his mom again.
Don't
Actually
worry,
upsets
Mr.
his
Romani,
mom.
I am just saying my farewell.
Pulls an upset on his mom. His mom doesn't have to throw it. Max
Happy to be
actually
here.
upsets her,
Also,
upsets
there
and
might be
defeats her.
quota.
Upsets and defeats her, to which his mom comically replies,
I'm here
"I didn't
for
throw the
our
game."
devices, Mrs. Harris.
To comically replies to Leo, "I didn't throw the game."
Sweet.
Max, if Max was good at if Max was
everybody
good at
sit in.
taking out the trash as he is talking it, we wouldn't have raccoons. We wouldn't have raccoons. And then when Max wins, Max says, "All right, I win. Who wants to challenge me?" And then Bucky says, "I do it," and everyone says, "Not you, Bucky, not you,
Was he
Bucky."
the
And
best
that's
student?
how.
No. Was he an underachiever who made you just want
And
to
now
pull your hair out?
and
Where was
now
I going with this? Oh, right. You really helped him.
and now then you have
I reached out to
then
dozens
you-
of people who all said Mrs. Harris has changed their lives more than any other teacher.
then you have and that's how that episode and that's how this episode ends. Then you add, like I said, the iconic 13 candles, where both Sid and Max are having birthday parties. And Sid's plot, Sid's mother, before she died, left a scavenger hunt for Sydney's 13th birthday. 13th or 14th birthday, I can't remember. Sydney
You're Jamsey?
and Sydney, with the help of Max, Olive, and Grandma Judy, is eventually able to solve the puzzle, and everyone, pretty much everyone in Portland, including Sydney's friends, attend her birthday party at the end of the episode. Then you got the
Wouldn't you say
then you
that I
got
played some role
then
in
you
New
got the
York,
B
too?
plot.
Not really.
Then you got the B plot, which has Sydney,
Okay.
which has Max celebrating his birthday. He wants to win all the prizes, and he doesn't want any girls there because they'll make it about themselves. So Max, but Leo is forced to go against his will because his mom is posing a triple Y. So he brings his cousin Alicia. So we later learn that Max's late wife in the present is Leo's cousin. They met at Max's birthday party. Of course, at this party, Alicia immediately steals Max's thunder and steals all the attention, causing Max to go outside. Alicia sees Max all alone and pulls a prank by giving him a weird Jack in the Box to which scares and angers Max. And Max fools her by pretending to be scared and anger, and the two bonds. So this is the first appearance of Alicia, an awesome season finale to end the show, to end Sydney to the, an awesome season finale to close out Sydney to the max. They brought in a new character, and we later learned that Leo's cousin is Max's future wife. I think that makes Max and Leo cousin-in-laws, I think. So yeah, that's that was that plot, and that was an awesome episode to end season 2, probably the best of season 2.
Hey, do I get
Then you got season 3, which so far has been 3 episodes. 3 episodes in. First 2 episodes were awesome. Third episode I enjoyed. It was pretty good, but the characters Leo and Sydney got on my nerves. Hopefully today's episode is better. I'm looking forward to more Alicia. Seeing more Alicia, and also seeing, I hope the Lunch Club people appear again. I'm pretty sure Zach Thompson, sadly to say, won't appear in this season unless they show him working at the smoothie shop, because Zach Thompson was in 8th grade in season 1. That means, and now Sydney, Olive, Sophie, and Emmy are in 8th grade, so that would mean Zach Thompson's in high school now. So I would have to wait all the way until like season 4 probably to see him again. Happy Harry is back. Happy Harry and the Ram Men are back, and Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, and like I said, the actors in just a short time, the actors and actresses have changed. Ian and Caroline Ray look older, look even older now, look even older now. What's his face? Oh yeah, Jackson Dollinger, who portrays Max, young Max. Christian J. Simon, who portrays young Leo, and Ruth Rehe and Ava Coker, who portray Sydney and Olive respectively. They're all old. They're all taller, older. They're all taller, older, and have deeper voices, and just look overall much more mature. In just a short time, these kids have already like grown up, man. Have already like grown up, and now Jackson Dollinger, he's starting to look even more like adult Max. Ian Kessler. Like I said, so yeah, season 3 is phenomenal, man. Can't wait to tonight's premiere. So yeah, this was my review. This was my re-review of Sydney to the Max. Once again, you don't want to hear the rest of the music, turn the video off right now.
Thank you.